everyone, this is Sally Rogerson from SR Education, and thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'm so excited to be doing this takeover for American Salon Magazine, and what I wanted to share with you is graduation today. So I have one of my fabulous hero models over here. This is Olivia, and you might have seen her in some photographs and from our Vegas show if you were there. And what I wanted to do was really share how I usually work with her graduation, and working a little bit like a classic graduated bob. The way that I work this back area is that I very much like to work with the hair growth pattern. So I see a lot of people take a vertical section straight through and pull the hair out and cut in that angle. But for me, that's a little bit too risky. I don't know what the hair's going to do. I don't know how it's going to behave. So for me, I never really take one straight section all the way through. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start down here and then pivot around in 5 sections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for me, this usually works really well. My first section is going to be quite small. I'm just going to work, first of all, deciding on my angle. I don't necessarily want to go that tight right now because Olivia has quite a strong hairline growth pattern. You can see that my second section is now a little bit higher and is starting to fan out. So I started a bit more vertical diagonal, and then I'm going to start getting a little bit more horizontal diagonal. Horizontal sections are going to help me to build a little bit more weight. And I usually use diagonal sections with my graduation. So that's my second section, using my thumb to help me take my section. This is going to be my fourth section. I don't really like to use too many clips in this nape area. I definitely prefer to just kind of push the hair with my thumb and keep it in place. Bottom, middle, top. Comb that hair down. This is going to be number 4. Taking my section, I press with this thumb to hold that hair away. I put my comb in so that way it doesn't fall down into it. And now I'm going to start to bring this hair down and develop my weight line. So it's really up to you on graduation how much weight you actually build. For me personally, at the moment, I like quite heavy graduations. And I think that, you know, graduation is very dependent on a lot of things. Number 1, fashion. How are people wearing their graduation right now? Are they wearing it really high? Are they wearing it very low? We're definitely seeing a lot of 90s bowly round graduation coming through at the moment, which is super cool. You know, about 6-7 years ago, graduation was really, really high and sat above the occipital bone. Right now, we're seeing a lot of really cool classic techniques coming back. So that was working my graduation below the occipital bone. She's very high and round through her occipital bone, so I decided to put it down a little bit lower. Visually at the moment, I'm enjoying seeing a little bit of weight, but if you do not, you can simply lift a little bit higher. That's completely up to you. I'm now going to move through onto my second side. I'm right-handed, so I tend to work on my hardest side first, okay? So I'm right-handed, so I tend to work on this harder side first on purpose. The reason for that is because I want to get my fingertip in. I'm working palm to palm, and my thumb is really pointing in the direction that I'm going. So I work palm to palm. I come around to my easier side. My thumb is now pointing in that direction. And on this side, I'm going to be working top down. So my first section is going to be that same first section. This is my guideline. This shows me what to do, and that's how I'm going to cut. That's my first section. Second section is going to get a little bit more horizontal diagonal. The top is going to show me how to cut. top down. This is going to be number 3, bringing my graduation down below the occipital bone. The key thing here is that I very much try to only comb down. So what I mean by that is I don't comb up at all, because if I do, I have a tendency to lift my graduation too high. I try and only comb down. We know that graduation is a buildup of weight. So for me to build weight, I'm going to need to bring the hair down in some capacity, as opposed to if I comb it up, then I'm likely to start to layer it. Continuing through, same technique as on the other side, except this side I'm working from the top down. And you can see my graduation coming through, combing down. Now it's up to me how much I elevate when I'm doing this. I like to read the hair as I go along, see how it's going. And then obviously I'm going to start to look at my balance, look at my shape, all of that kind of stuff. I'm not going to do the outline until afterwards. I'd rather just let that dry a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Your cross-check, if you want to cross-check, I tend to do it a little bit more horizontal to start with. I don't cut it like that. I just want to look at it. I just want to see what I've got and what I need to go back and work on. Also, be very careful on your tension. If you get too tight on your tension, you are going to kind of ruin your haircut. I don't know if you can see yet, but Olivia has a very strong swirly crown that's actually quite low. So if I continue through and pull that hair really, really tight, it's going to shrink up and probably hurt me later on. So I'm being very careful about how I do this. And first of all, I'm going to continue on that side, and I'm going to be very careful how loose I am. So I'm working with the large tooth of my comb, not the small end. This is going to give me a looser tension. I'm also being very gentle. You can see how loose my tension is through there. Obviously, because we all do hair, we love pulling hair really tight. I want to do this with the small end of my comb and pull it really tight, but that would be a disaster for her crown. So I have to back off. I have to loosen my hands. I'm hardly touching the hair, I'm hardly holding it, because I want to make sure that I have nice, gentle, looser tension. Continuing through now, I've developed my weight line. So really all I'm going to do is continue with the same process all the way through to the front. Now you have to start to think about what kind of angle and shape you want this to be. So really thinking about, do I want it to be really steep and angular and A-line, or do I want it to be a little bit more square? I want mine to be a little bit more A-line, so I'm going to start bringing everything back to behind the ear at the mastoid process. If you want it to be more square or a little shorter through there, you would continue to walk around. So I'm not walking around right now on purpose. I'm actually standing in the back to achieve a little bit more of an A-line kind of feeling. Again, same process. I am going to lift the hair up very slightly. Excuse me. So I'm going to lift the hair up very slightly. Sorry about that, folks. And continue keeping like a lower, heavier weight, just because that's what I'm kind of trying to achieve. This hair at the sides does not reach, and that's okay by me. I'm trying to get something a little bit more angled. Continuing through with a more diagonal section still. My sections are really trying to mirror my graduation. So it's, again, very gentle on this crown. I can continue to lift up a little bit more if I want to elevate and get that graduation higher. I don't particularly, so mine is finishing at the corner of the hairline in the back. So that's where I want my graduation to end. I'm continuing through off of a side parting. Very, very simple approach to a graduated bob. There's many, many different ways to cut a graduated bob. And, you know, I definitely use a few different variations. But this is my go-to in the salon if I know I want something pretty heavy and I want to be able to control it really well. This really stops me from getting holes over the ears. It really makes me feel confident, like I can get through it pretty easily and quickly. Classically, a graduated bob is considered to be one of the hardest things to cut. And I do agree with that. But on the other hand, don't get too kind of scared about it, because if you apply a simple process, it should work for you pretty efficiently and quickly in the salon. So on this front area, I'm just simply bringing this hair across. Anything that reaches that back, then it reaches. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Again, I'm keeping this pretty heavy through here. I'll go to the other side. The other side I have found, because I have cut Olivia's hair a couple of times before, I found that for her, on the second side, she does spring up a little bit more over here. So I have to be very, very careful in this area and be even looser. I would even go onto an even larger comb, something like this, instead of something like this. You know, this is a really good width of comb, but I would go to something even looser if you have a tricky crown like this. So I'm going to continue now with my second side. Now, when I'm working on my second side, I have to be extremely careful that I control my hand and body position. So on this side, I tend to start at the bottom. I go bottom, cut, and then I'll go to the middle. So I lift up just very smoothly, and then I go to the top, keeping it super loose around there. I know where to stop and I know where to elevate to, because the other side shows me how to do it. So I'm going to continue through with this in the same manner, starting to go through into the sides, even though my sides are not going to reach. So I'll come down and back, lower, recomb middle, higher, recomb top into the crown, higher. So that's my highest point. If I just cut it once in one go, especially if you have, you know, really large scissors, you have to be careful, because you're just cutting it in one elevation. Bang, it's all gone. So I like to cut it in 3 elevations, because I'm going lower, higher, higher to mirror the sections. Lower, higher, higher, super loose on that crown. I know where to stop because the other side tells me what to do. Working the hair, making sure it's laying down how I want it to. So again, if you're just joining us, this is Sally Rogerson. I have a hair education company called SR Education, and I have taken over American Salon Facebook Live for, well, as long as it takes to do this haircut. So thank you so much for joining us. If you're live with us now, I really appreciate it. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about what I do and what my hair education is all about, please go to sallyrogerson.com and you can find out all about it. We have great cutting classes all over the US. We are very excited as well, because we are just about to open a group of academies in some cities across the US, and hopefully we'll go international with that. We have some amazing people that we've trained up and worked with over the past year that are going to be actually teaching on behalf of SR Education, starting in the Bay Area, and also We're going to have Seattle, Atlanta, and we will continue on from there. So very exciting stuff going on with SR Education at the moment. Again, you can join us and see what's going on at sallyrogerson.com. What I'm going to do now is go into a little bit of a cross-check, and also I'll do a recap. So this is a classic graduated bob technique, which is, you know, sometimes the hardest thing to do because you can't hide anywhere. So what I'm doing now is just going back through, doing a little bit of a cross-check. I'll take diagonal sections behind the ear, come through and just do a little bit of a cross-check this way. This allows me to check anything, just clean up any ends. We don't normally take questions on this, but if you guys have any questions, we always go into the comment section afterwards. So if you do have a question specifically about anything SR Education, then please write us a note and we will get back to you. We have a lot of classes coming up on the East Coast, and I know a lot of people have been asking me about my 12-month teacher training program. We do have dates out for next year's teacher training program. There is only 6 spaces on it. So if you're interested in doing a 12-month mentorship with me next year, then give us a call and get booked in. I'm looking forward to it. We're also advancing amazingly with our group that we have already this year. So you all know who you are if you're on there. I appreciate you. And I'm just so amazed at how amazingly good all of my teacher training people are. So kudos to you guys. Just going back through, having another little check. Now you're going to have to bear with me for a second because I do want to actually blow dry just very, very quickly. So bear with me. I will endeavor to do it as quickly as I can. And we might not get it fully dry because I know it's a little bit boring, but I'm going to do a wrap dry. I'll get it in really quick and I'll show you how to refine. So stay with me. We're just going to watch it blow dry really quick. Going to use a touch of the relaxing fluid, which is from Davines. And then I'm going to use a lap brush, a YS Pop lap brush. I like to work with a flat-backed brush. I just pulled out Olivia's earrings. I'm sorry about that. Who knows what else is going to happen, huh? Live TV, everyone. Anything could happen. I really appreciate American Salon trusting me to do this because, you know, could really take over, couldn't I? Okay, I'm going to do a quick blow dry, folks, so hold on. Okay guys, so not fully dried, obviously, would take quite a bit longer, and I don't want to bore you with the whole blow dry details, but I've got it dry enough where I can actually start to detail and do my outline work. So working through, first of all, putting up the chair as high as I can, and then I'm going to start to work on this bottom hairline. She has a beautiful hairline. All I'm going to do is go with it. So I'm using the tips of the scissors, and it's very important that I'm not going up and in. I'm not trying to make it all fringy. I'm using the top of my scissors, and I'm using my hand to push the scissor blade around and just make a nice kind of arc. She already has that naturally, so I feel like it already works really beautifully with what she has. I'm always looking at my highest point of the rest of my haircut and bringing it to that highest point. And then any kind of fluffy hair like that, I don't mind taking that off with my scissors. You can use a trimmer if you want to, that's fine. I don't really want to go really extreme up into the outline though. It's not really that easy for clients to grow it out. So working through, just trying to keep what she has really, and then starting just to go the other way. Also, you can see the hairline here is a little holier than that, grows that way. So I want to take a little bit of weight out as well, just very gently with some light scissor over comb. Just trying to keep it a little bit on the gentle side. For any of you that know me, you know I can easily carve my name into something. I'm just not in that mode right now. I'm just really into things being a bit more loose and a little bit more natural right now. I'm sure my carving days are not over, but just going back in, starting to work the other side. Again, just using the tips of the scissors, taking off any fluffy hair at the bottom, no problem. Keeping the hair in its natural position. If you have a clientele that likes softer outlines, then that's great too. You know, it's all good. There's room for everybody, there's room for everything. Sometimes I'll do things really soft, sometimes I'll do things really strong. Depends on how I feel, depends on fashion, depends on the client, most importantly. So now what I'm going to do is just do a little bit of freehand, a little bit of dusting. So coming through into the back area, first of all, just taking horizontal sections, lifting and dusting. Obviously I have quite a lot of different colors going on. So for me personally, it's about making it visually work. I've got darker in the middle, I've got lighter on the ends. We did have our first ever SR Education hair show in February of this year in Vegas. And Olivia was used for that, so she's got all sorts of different colors going on from that still. Right? So now I'm going to go in and visually see, hey, maybe I need to do a little bit of pointing just to kind of blend a bit of that color work. Because my haircut's clean, I just need to try and make it visually work. And that's the thing, when you kind of at the beginning of your career, you're just obsessed about making everything super perfect technically, and that's very important, don't get me wrong. But at some point you have to start thinking, well, what does it look like? So all I'm doing now is dusting. I'm going to go up and in, gently point into those top areas. I've got some color things going on through there. Coming through into the sides, lift up for me, and that's it. So now just starting to have a little look at my outline again, working through into the sides as well. Closing my scissor, lift that hair up, let it fall into the comb, and then clean up. check in as well these hairs in on the underneath. Then finally through the front, just checking in some of that front area. It's a little long. I'm going to loosen into this crown area as well. So I feel like through here I just need to go in and have a gentle point, soften the whole thing. So we have some very exciting things happening this week. We are launching our men's, well, we have launched yesterday, our men's program. We have a really amazing online classroom, and you can go and see our virtual classroom at sallyrogerson.com and sign up and become a member. And in there we have our regular women's comprehensive cutting program, which covers 10 haircuts, all different lengths, all different techniques. And then we've just launched our men's as well. So very exciting, our men's program is now online as well, whereas before it was just on DVD. And I know, what do you do with a DVD these days? No one's got anywhere to play them, right? So we are totally online now, which is very exciting. And to celebrate that, on Monday evening, West Coast, 6 p.m., we're going to be doing a live men's cutting session on my Facebook page. So please look out for that. This is just coming to the end of my technique. I could do this all night, of course. But I'm going to have to stop somewhere. So just hold that for me. Let's just smooth everything down a little bit. Oh, she just happens to have an SR Education outfit on. Wow, how did you know? Okay, so this is my final look on Olivia. Classic graduated bob. You can see that it has like a little bit of a kind of a 20s kind of feel to it. She definitely has some weight in it. You know, I wanted it to be more of a weighty classic kind of look. But it can also be dressed a little bit looser. So I think it's really kind of quite fun when you think about moving it around, wearing it a little bit kind of looser, like I don't care. It's a little bit I don't care. Tuck it behind the ear. You know, there's so many ways to dress this haircut, and that's why it's a classic, because there's so many things you can do with it. I like the kind of slightly 90s grunge version of it at the moment, just leaving it a little bit loose like that, and just being very kind of nonchalant, right? So that's my final look. Thank you all so very, very much. This is Sally Rogerson from SR Education, and that was my amazing takeover this evening, all the way from LA for American Salon Magazine. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it, and hope to see you soon in class. Bye.